Are you sure this works, Grisha? The false imp turned to face his boss, Vox. Sure thing, boss. When this thing fires, there will be a whole bunch of feathers. Grisha slapped the cannon proudly with his long, slender tail. Good, good. Hope you don't mind then that you'll be sitting out here tonight. Scared, the false imp's eyes opened. Wait, I built it, so one of the bots can handle it. Vox shrugged as he turned to the door of the rooftop. Well, in that case... With a grin, Vox faced the little demon. Prove it to me. It would be worth investing a bot for this. Voxtech was the leading manufacturer of hell weapons, meant for the destruction of both demons and angels. Of course, none of the weapons could permanently get rid of an angel or demon, but the duration of regeneration was artificially made longer due to the Voxtech Rainbow Fire. A fire which burned hotter and twice as long as regular demon fire. For more conventional comparisons, it was basically napalm that burned even longer, and was even excruciatingly painful if used against fire-type demons who usually were immune to flames. Voxtech Rainbow Fire was usually used to defend the V-Tower, and now with the development of the Voxtech Anti-Angel Roof Cannon, even middle-class demons could afford basic defenses. Well, as long as landlords agreed to set one up on their precious roofs. This was the first functioning prototype, and they would use it during this next purge. Scared, Grisha, the false imp, loaded the cannon. It had 6-shot revolver magazines that were quite heavy, requiring the false imp to utilize all his magical capabilities to just load the thing alone. Sweating, he got ready, as he sat on the gunner's seat. He turned the cannon towards the embassy where the angels would soon appear from. His heart pounded as he pressed his face against the scope. Ever since he arrived in Hell, Grisha never felt this amount of pressure on his back. He inhaled, and the clock rang, causing an eruption of sounds all around the city. But he couldn't allow himself to be distracted. Multiple portals around the Embassy of Heaven opened, out of which the angels swarmed like bees. Grisha placed his hand on the cannon's control panel, licked his lips, and fired. It was your first ever purge, and it had been 3 years since you learned of them. You were an innocent-born angel, meaning you were one of the few winners who got sent into heaven. Kinda earned it, honestly. You are proud and headstrong, though sometimes shy. Especially with your new body. Honestly, it kinda made you realize that maybe you should have been working out more than you were when you were alive. It felt great having muscles, while still having your dainty little angel body. Adam's pre-attack speech was rousing, but very obviously meant for the heaven-born exterminators and newbies like yourself. As the other innocent boy next to you, who had been on multiple exterminations prior, looked quite bored. But the moment you stepped through the portal and spread your wings to fly over the red, polluted demon city, from somewhere, you were immediately hit by something massive. It exploded right on your face. Worst of all, covered you in a burning, sticky liquid that made it impossible to breathe while also melting your flesh and armor. Immediately you went into a crash course with the ground. Panicking and in pain, you couldn't see as your mask was starting to melt and was fusing with your face like the hottest glue imaginable. Crashing headfirst through a hard window, your body rolled over the ground until it slammed against the wall. And still the flames didn't stop. Crying, screaming, you rolled on the ground in utter panic, until you vaguely heard someone snap their fingers so loudly you managed to hear it over the flames and your own screams. Shivering in pain, you lied there, smoldering, skin, bones, and metal loosely hanging from your body. "Preb, who is that?" You heard a male voice.
"It appears to be an angel, sir. More than likely an exterminator,"
said a different, more pompous-sounding voice. Jeez. Must be a newbie. At least one of them per batch think they can take me down despite our contract with heaven.
"With all due respect, sir, I believe she's already quite taken down."
I mean, of course. I took her down already. Yeah, that totally was me.
"Sir."
Yes, Prim? A short silence followed, through which you only heard your labored breathing, as well as screaming and explosions from outside. Fine, it wasn't me. She just came in like that. Quite literally. To the window. Hey. Someone kicked you, causing unimaginable pain to surge through your body.
"I do believe this one is toast, sir."
Very funny, Prim. Hey, listen up, Angel. You felt a hand grab you by your charred throat. We're going to fix you up. In return, you fix up my workshop that you destroyed. And then you get your ass back to heaven. Got it, little chicken? You burped up a bubble of golden blood, accidentally spewing it into the man's face. I hate you already, he groaned. Your regeneration was now sped up by the two men. The pain practically gone within seconds. Until... Okay, now off with that mask. Scared, you grabbed it. It's molten slag. Stop fighting. Your lips quivered. At least let me stand and remove it with dignity. The two men allowed you to stand. You had never had your body regenerate like this before. Outside of bruises and some cuts, recovering from what would be deadly wounds as a human was almost entirely new for you. It wasn't for your training getting you used to minor injuries and their regenerations. You inhaled and exhaled. And then you pulled off your molten helmet. Your eyes bearing witness to two individuals. One was clearly a demon, the other man was dressed in white. The demon was small in stature. You could probably suckle on your chest by standing up. The thought made you blush a little. He had short, well-groomed white hair, kinda like those Korean bands, and pure yellow eyes, almost looking like those of a deep-sea fish. He was dressed in a black butler uniform, with a yellow tie and handkerchief in his breast pocket. His jaw was a little crooked, probably causing his weird way of speaking, as well as giving him a permanent smug expression, even with his professional deadpan. The other man was blonde, with rosy cheeks. Immediately you could tell he was an angel just by his posture and facial features, that were just a tiny bit too symmetrical, as well as suffering from mild baby face. You aren't an exorcist, he said with a scoff. Your face looked too lively. It was a pleasant pastel pink, and your eyes were the wrong color, as well as your ears being quite pointy like those of an elf. How you managed to shove them into the helmet without discomfort, well, that was a mystery to the man. You blinked, realizing something. There shouldn't be a fallen angel in hell with one exception, of course. Scared, you took a step back, gasping, and just as you were about to scream, the butler snapped his fingers, causing your lips to fuse together. Panicking, you grabbed at the complete, smooth surface where your mouth had just been.
We all know what you're about to say, and I'm certain both me and my lords would appreciate if you could skip the surprise. Now I will return your ability to speak, and then you will tell us what an innocent boy does among the ranks of the exorcists. Understood?
Your gaze shifted between the two men's faces, until finally at your shoulders hang, and you nodded. Preminger snapped his fingers, your mouth reappearing. And just to make sure, you suckled on one of your fingers, letting your fingertip glide against your tongue. This had almost been as terrible as the fire. But nevertheless, after your bewilderment had mellowed out, you sighed, crossed your arms, and leaned against the wall behind you. Explain to Lucifer, the King of Hell, and Preminger, his butler, your story. Which mostly consisted of you explaining why you ended up in heaven. You were bullied your entire life by classmates. It started with a group of goth kids in elementary. Middle school, it was a cheerleader who hated you because she made her braces a fashion statement, which meant you having braces too, as a nerd, made her feel like as if your mere existence ruined your... Made her feel like as if your mere existence ruined her image. And in high school, it was your low-income family that put you on the chopping block. But despite that, you never lost hope, as you had a reason to be good, and to force a fake smile, even at the saddest of moments. And that was an anecdote your late great-grandfather had given you when you were just 5 years old. The man had been highly religious and managed to sell heaven to you, in a way not even a pastor could. Your entire life you had never lost your faith, thanks to his preaching. And once you're reunited with him in heaven, as well as your grandfather, grandmother, and other family members, well, he was a little sad you died at just 25 via a car accident, but he was happy. And, well, you were too. And he was glad that you never turned into a brat. You had been sent into the diligence banner of heaven. And that's where Lucifer's ears perked up. As you explained, that a few years ago the sudden influx of sinners in hell caused major concern. The exterminators no longer having enough time to slaughter demons and reduce their numbers properly. As such, a new group was formed. It was decided that Diligence Banner Innocent Born should join exterminations if they so desired on their free will. This group was called the Paladin Order. You were there for support, given weapons of choices rather than just basic angel spears, which explained the half-melted sword on the ground. As well as only participating during the exterminations of the Pride and the Wrath Circle of Hell. Mostly because pride and wrath were sins more easily slain than lust, sloth, or gluttony. It was to avoid the paladins from being corrupted by sin and falling. You then ended your explanation with how you ended up being hit by a missile or something that had set you on fire, and you crash-landed right here. Your gaze shifted to a shattered glass window out of which you could see the red hell sky. As a matter of fact, the place you found yourself not only was Lucifer's castle, but also Lucifer's very own workshop. Though its contents were a little strange. It It was a random assortment of hundreds of rubber duckies. But you weren't going to question that. I see, said Lucifer finally as he went into thought.
So I may suggest simply kicking her out. It would not break the heavenly contract.
Lucifer shrugged. Well, would it break the contract making her fix this mess? The duckies were all strewn about, as well as quite a lot of shattered glass and debris from the crash.
She has to return to her kind and kill demons, sire, in accordance to the contract.
Lucifer crossed his arms. She can. After she cleans up. Exterminations lasted a couple of hours per lair, so it wouldn't be so bad if you spent like 2 of these helping clean up the mess you made. I suppose? Surprised, the 2 men now looked at you. They'd been expecting you to make a fuss. It was my mistake. I should have dodged that, or at least I should have expected it. I would feel terrible just up and leaving. Lucifer snorted. You're here to kill people, you know that, right? With all due respect, you 2 aren't people. Lucifer was hurt, but he didn't know why, though Prin, meanwhile, smiled.
That is actually a very uplifting thing to say, Miss...
The butler tilted his head in confusion. Yeah, I am Novice Inquisitor Chantra of the Paladin Order 2nd Regiment. You saluted, even though you felt like turning into a puddle out of embarrassment. Alright, Chantra, mumbled Lucifer. Can you 2 please clean up my workshop now? If you do this, I forget this ever happened. Deal? You looked at Preminger. The imp was making you nervous. There was a strange, dark energy surrounding him that was just a tiny bit stronger than the light of Lucifer. Like he was more than he was putting on. He also seemed to be bearing a false face, which was a type of illusion power that automatically applied on a person or demon, changing their appearance permanently, and only with a counter could this illusion be temporarily broken and reveal the true face.
She appears to be a little timid for an exterminator,
muttered Preminger mockingly to Lucifer. It was just barely loud enough for you to hear. And your right eye twitched. Hey, I'm a trained demon killer, you said. Your ears wiggling in anger, which only caused Lucifer to smile. You were so cute. His heart skipped a beat. Well, he said, perhaps I help you too, if you ask nicely, that is. You furrowed your brows, but Preminger turned to face Lucifer, bowing deeply.
With all due respect, sire, I could fix this on my own in just a minute. Please.
Gulping, you made a more innocent pose with your hands folded behind your back, tilting your head just a little. I think we would need the help of a strong man like Lucifer for this. Shock, the imp, and the king of hell looked at you. It was genuinely your best try at being alluring or seductive or persuasive. Seems as if hell's corruption already was making your head spin. You would have never done this on Earth, or in heaven.
Sire, I think I like her,
said Preminger. Fine, I help. Lucifer chuckled, with playful reluctance. The cleaning up went slow. Using his telepathy, Preminger was rearranging the scattered ducks, as according to him, the only person who knew how to arrange the ducks better than Lucifer was him. Which neither you which neither you or Lucifer complained about. With a broom, Lucifer was sweeping up the glass shards, debris, and soot, while you swept the stuff up with a handbrush and a shovel. With everyone working together, the workshop looked decently tidy soon thereafter. Sighing, you leaned against the broken window. Good job, Chandra. You blushed. I can see why you ended up there, Lucifer said with a smile. Not everyone would have helped clean up. Not even an exterminator. Must be very fortunate it just had to be you, huh? You scratched over your shoulder, blushing. I mean, I made this mess, and you were kind enough to heal me. It's the least I could do. After all, in like a minute or so, I'm gonna be starting to kill your subjects. Lucifer stepped towards you. He gave you a toothy grin as he grabbed you by your chin. You really are something. Wide-eyed, you stared at him, your heart pounding. Really? You never had a guy do this to you, though you did read about it. You exhaled, and then, without warning, Lucifer pressed his lips onto yours. It was a strange feeling. You had never been kissed before, not as a human. Not as an angel. Of course you had imagined it. But honestly, never ever could you have anticipated that the King of Hell would be your first. Your legs became weak, but at the same time, your heart was pounding hot blood all throughout your body. You felt rejuvenated, and maybe just a little more powerful. Your wings flapped excitedly. Lucifer didn't kiss you passionately, his tongue simply remaining in his mouth, but it was still powerful and sensual. He was being far beyond your comprehension. He was an angel created by God so long ago, and the worst thing? You couldn't even brag about it. If you told this to anyone in heaven, you'd be ostracized. Maybe this forbidden thing was making it even more exciting to you. Yeah, that was probably it. Lucifer's lips were soft and gentle, and they radiated a divine energy that was clearly more powerful than yours. But just before your mind went completely blank, he took a step back, a smug expression on his face. You slapped your hands on your cheeks quickly to wake yourself up. Your face was so red, you couldn't quite think straight. Turning around, you just flew away. Lucifer called out, "Hey, don't forget your sword!" Preminger threw the weapon after you, and quickly you picked it up midair. Thanks! The two men then watched you fly away. Prim looked at his master.
Excuse me, sir, but was that really necessary?
Meanwhile, Lucifer just grinned. He just couldn't keep his hands off Adam's toys, could he? It was hours and many dead demons later when you returned to heaven. Though, somehow, getting kissed by Lucifer seemed to be the most distressing thing about this entire adventure. Perhaps the fact most demons looked either like abominations or furries made it easier to disassociate them from regular people. But after you had struck down your first, and realized how easy it was, even with your half-melted sword, it almost became fun. Or perhaps it was just some misguided bloodlust. Either way, you managed to return to heaven, with your only loss being your mask, which was noted by the other exterminators. Any lost equipment needed to be catalogued after all. For hours you had stood in line with the other paladins inside the training grounds for exterminators. Little ways away stood the other heaven-born angels. The entire roll call after a purge was a quasi-humiliation ritual, because higher scrutiny was put upon the winners. After all, despite being in heaven, the stalls could still be corrupted. Though this was just the overall reason for this. In reality, this was more about the heaven-born being petty, thinking they don't need the extra support. The sun of heaven was shining down onto your face, making the roll call feel like it was taking longer than it already was. As Adam and his right-hand woman Lute walked up to you. They were going over the lost items and any received damages. But most importantly, also the exterminated demons. Of course, due to the innocent-born status of paladins, there was more scrutiny and Adam and Lute were very critical. The angel next to you, for instance, was covered from head to toe in guts, and he also was missing multiple armor pieces. "And you," grumbled Lute next to him. "Losing how much and why?"
Madam, the armor was slowing me down, so I removed unnecessary pieces."
Lu's eyes looked up at his masked face. She felt as if the paladins were a waste of resources, but she couldn't deny any support was graciously accepted. "Next time sign up for the scout teams, then you get lighter equipment."
Yes, ma'am."
They then stepped over to you, and Lute's eyes widened angrily. "You actually lost your helmet?" She grabbed you by your shirt, but Adam placed a hand on her shoulder. Now, Lute, let her explain herself." Lute instantly knew what Adam's interjection meant, and she sighed. She already hated you. "Fine. I got hit with a fireball thing, and it melted my mask off. It was quite painful." Skeptically, Lute raised an eyebrow. "And you just, what, regenerated? So quickly? Do you honestly think I would believe that?" You looked down. "Hey!" She snapped her fingers. "Up here plays the music." Right. I got help. Someone healed me." "Only clerics and seraphim can heal wounds this quickly. Clerics are charity angels and they are not part of the paladin corps. And there are no archangels in the extermination either. Or seraphim, for that matter of fact." You remained quiet for a moment. "Actually, it was Lute." Adam put a hand on your mouth. Lute. You didn't tell me you can heal." The exorcist narrowed her eyes. Hissing, Adam whispered into her ear. "Listen." Hissing, Adam whispered into your ear. "Listen, you're cutie. That's why I'm making an exception. But if you ever speak that man's name in my presence again, I'll throw you into hell myself. Got that?" You nodded frightened. Good. Now, the story is as follows. Lute is the one who healed you. Got it? His eyes looked deep into yours. "But if you wanna talk about the events in more detail." You felt his hand enter your pants pockets, leaving behind something cold and heavy. "Top floor of the Senate building, room 777. He winked, and then took a step back. "New helmet, new uniform for this one. Let's get going, Lute." As the two continued down the line of troops, you stood there, puzzled. Your hand gliding into the same pocket your fingers brushed over a hard surface. It was a key. You blushed hard, realizing what it meant. You found yourself in a dark hallway. The Senate was the biggest building in the entire central city of heaven. All the seraphim and archangels lived here. On the upper floors, at least. The lower ones were used for various political judgments. It was your first time here. You having the key in your possession being akin to a free entry ticket to the deeper bowels of heaven. Though the look the receptionist gave you upon reading Adam's room number on it was quite telling. After all, Adam was widely known for having a little harem, loot being his favorite. Probably his way of coping with what happened to him not once but twice in the Garden of Eden. The problem was that the hallway wasn't well lit, and so you bumped into a fault in the blue carpet, catapulting you forward, slamming you head first against the door of room 777. "Ow!" you complained, as light suddenly poured over your head. You know knocking is better than using your head, right? Oh. Ugh, you're helpless. Panicking, you rolled on your butt, looking up at Adam. "I'm sorry." Adam crossed his arms, smirking. He was dressed in more casual clothes, not even having his mask on. He was quite handsome, with a little beard and beige, almost grey-looking hair. He held out his hand and smiled. You took it. His skin felt warm and firm. Helping you up, you thanked him. "Thanks, sir." "Please don't sir me." He chuckled as he turned back inside. "Right now we're just a man and a woman." Timid, you walked inside his room. It was big, a loft. Its walls painted black. The ground was fully carpeted in the same color, with a big zebra-patterned rug spread across the entire middle of the room. Above a fireplace hung a pink neon sign with the words "Love Shack." It flickered slightly. On the walls hung multiple painting-sized album covers. Some bands you knew, some you didn't. Among them were bands such as The Beatles, Michael Jackson, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, and even Disturbed and Rammstein albums. A golden stairwell led to an open bedroom, below it a door leading to the kitchen. On the opposite side, atop another balcony, was a huge flat-screen TV with a sofa and a minibar. Beneath, the bathroom. Overall, it looked like a loft designed by a bratty 16-year-old whose dad was a disco freak in the 70s to 80s. Still, you smiled. It was adorable, in a dorky way. On a glass table stood a wine bottle with 2 gold-decorated glasses. You sat down next to each other on a zebra-patterned sofa. It was quite comfy. He filled the glasses with the red liquid. "I read your file. Chantra, right?" he mused. Adam gave you one of the glasses. The liquid tasted delicious. Nothing like alcohol, well, maybe a little. As after about 2 seconds after swallowing it, you could taste the sharp sting of alcohol on your tongue. Still, it was nothing like you ever drank before. Was this the stuff the Seraphim got? Jesus. So, about that Lucifer business, tell me everything. He sounded casual, borderline gossipy, but you could hear the malice hidden beneath the words. You thought for a moment, and then began explaining what happened to you. How you were hit by what appeared to be a giant bullet that exploded into rainbow-colored fire. Your crash landing, and that Lucifer healed you together with his butler. Upon Adam wondering why he did that, you blushed and answered honestly. So you could help clean up the mess you made. In truth, you may have not realized it, but at the time, there was a very high likelihood he would have just killed you if you refused. Over your explanation, Adam kept refilling your glass. Obviously, he was trying to get you to loosen up a bit. You have gone here fully anticipating this, of course. If anything, you kinda hoped for it. Perhaps he just wanted to make sure you'd be comfortable. After all, most angels in heaven were a little stuck up. It was when you mentioned the kiss when his eyes flashed. Clearly, he felt more than he was ever going to admit. And how are you doing? He asked. You looked away. I'm unsure. On one hand, I just had my first kiss stolen from me by Satan. It's Lucifer. Right, sure. But yeah. Yeah, stealing a kiss, that really sounds like him. But on the other hand, you interrupted him. It felt nice. A fire started burning inside of him. Adam was enraged. But he managed to barely hide it. He placed a hand on yours. Well, you want to feel something even better? You inhaled through your mouth as he leaned forward with a smug, toothy grin. Sure. Adam placed a hand on your warm cheek, his thumb brushing against your skin. It was strange. Being kissed again after living your entire life without it. Now it happened twice on the same day. Come to think of it, you weren't tired. You killed hundreds of demons today, bathed in their blood, were burned to a crisp, and yet, as you felt Adam's tongue into your mouth, past your lips, giving you pleasure you have never felt before, your lips smacked deliciously, the fingers of your hands intertwining, feeling each other's warmth. He pushed forward, managing to push you onto your back. Your knees pressed together. You were now at his mercy. He released his grasp on your lips, pulling out his tongue last, letting as much of his hot salvia slide down your throat as he could. Giving you a lewd expression with his tongue hanging past his lips, a drop of salvia dripping onto his shirt. He asked, "Are you okay with going further?" Your eyes met. Your lips twitched up into a smile as you loudly gulped down the sweet salvia he had been feeding you. Yes. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the very end. I'm very grateful for that, and I would like to ask you to please share the video around on social media so more people can see it. And that's it really. But before we say goodbye, I would like to say thank you to all of my lovely channel members who so lovingly support me. We have Giovanni Moriarty, Twilight Mia, Zoe, Angel, Angry Boxman, Hella, BitBit, Melofia, Anonymous Weep, Zachary, Nicodemus D, and Valerie Wings. Thank you for being wonderful darling stewards, and of course, let's not forget all of my other lovely darlings who support me. Thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.